stand Manchester United 3, Partizan Belgrade 0. And Manchester United, it's a tale of the good, the bad and the ugly, isn't it? What do we learn from a game like that? Well, we win, and that's very important for Manchester United. But what do we learn from it? I think that, look, Partizan Belgrade, they turned up in their farmer's boots with their bit of straw in their mouth and their messy hair because they are a bunch of farmers. I'm not being disrespectful to them. I think they've got a good couple of players, but the reality is they had no shots on target, but at times I felt that their midfield, especially the wide left player and the lad who played down the middle, I think that they look quite good players, but they're not a good team. I genuinely think if Partizan Belgrade came back over to England on the international break with that same team and they played Solihull Moors or Salford, I think they'd be in trouble. I think they would really be in trouble. So I think that it's Manchester United have done well. I thought the goal by Martial was absolutely superb. I think Rashford should have had a hat-trick. I think my player ratings I can't wait to do my player ratings. I think the Rashford one is going to really surprise a few people. And Greenwood got a good goal. But again, I think second half, I understand what we did in the second half, by the way. Garner came on and did okay. We got Lingard on, we got Pereira on. I think it was important to get people like Rashford and Fred off the pitch. We had an eye on Brighton, so it was about, going through the motions a little bit. But it was a poor second half, wasn't it? Rashford got the goal. We should have gone in at half-time maybe 5 or 6-0 up. We had so many chances, but second half, apart from the Rashford goal, I don't really remember loads of good chances. We definitely went from probably, we went down a couple of years. But I agree with what a lot of people are saying, that we went way too strong in that team. Pereira was poor, Glenn. Lingard was poor. I don't think Garner did a lot, but he's a young lad. It's all about getting him in game time. I think you expect more from Pereira and Lingard, who are senior pros. They're coming on against a team like that that's tired and they're doing very, very little. But, we're nitpicking there. I think we've got to look at the positives. Second half didn't seem as good. Why do you think? Says Charles Crane. I just think that we struggle in the second half. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You're winning 2-0 at half time and you're rocking. You come out second half and we're not. But we've done that when we've been winning against Southampton and Wolves. We've done it when we've been losing games. We're just not a very good second half team under Ollie. I don't know why that is. The momentum and concentration does seem to drop off. I understand it today, though. I would take it as hopefully a positive, that I think we had our eye on Brighton. There wasn't any need to go and bust a gut. And I think we sort of did drop off a little because of Brighton on Sunday, which is only 2.5 days away. Which brings me on to the most important thing before we do the player ratings. I was very, very angry with the team news, and I can't hide from that because it's in the first half an hour of the watch along, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm not going to be one of them people who goes, I got it wrong, Ollie got it right. Well, Ollie did get it right because United won the game and we're top of the group and we're going to qualify now. So Ollie did get it right. But I did think that having had such recent failure where we played against Norwich with the same team that we played against Chelsea virtually, and then we used the same team against Bournemouth, and we were tired against Bournemouth and we lost. Ollie should have learnt that lesson to rotate the squad. We come into this game tonight, and who's going to start on Sunday that didn't start tonight? Well, Dan James will come back in. Brandon Williams will start because Ashley Young's suspended. And David De Gea will start. And maybe Pereira will play instead of Mata. Most of that team that played tonight will play against Brighton, and I just think that's a silly risk. I think it's a silly risk. We've got a big squad. He could have played Phil Jones instead of Maguire, who picked up a knock. Lindelof's already missing on Sunday, so Rojo and Maguire are our starting centre-backs. They played tonight. Wan-Bissaka's looked knackered for ages. He plays 90 minutes tonight. McTominay and Fred. McTominay's gone and got a knock. They play tonight. Rashford plays again tonight. It's just, I think we played too many of our first team against a team that was very, very bad. But Brighton is the risk. If we don't get a win against Brighton because we've lost players through injury or we're tired, playing a strong team tonight will have been an unnecessary risk. If we win again on Sunday, it doesn't really matter. But I don't think we are using our squad well enough, and I think that's the ugly. The ugly is that we might have picked up an injury to Maguire and McTominay, which was unnecessary. But we might also have players that are quite tired. So that's why I was angry with the team news. I think it was an unnecessary risk. I'm not being disrespectful to Partizan. I thought that they have got some decent players, but their standard is a League 2 side. They're not a very good side. And we were always going to win tonight. I think I also think as well, when you're giving Phil Jones a 5-year contract in February and he's not played in the Carabao Cup or the Europa League, and you're playing your first choice centre-backs in all those games, you start to scratch your head and think, there's got to be somebody in that football club saying to Ollie, this is a bad idea. Because what's going to happen, well, we're already picking up a lot of injuries from muscle injuries and fatigue, but they are going to hurt us in March as well. You can't do 9 months of playing everybody all the bloody time. And the worrying thing is, if we're playing our first team at the weekend and midweek at the moment, well, we're still in the Carabao Cup and we're getting towards the latter stages, so all the more reason to play a strong team. The FA Cup's a route into the Europa League, all the more reason to play a strong team. When the Europa League kicks in February, they're going to be tougher games, all the more reason to play your full team. Apparently we've still got a chance of top 4, all the more to play your first team. So I don't see the respite that these players are going to get. And Maguire and Rashford, they've played 4 games in a week and a half, 5 games in 2 weeks on Sunday, then they're off on international duty with England. So I think we are setting ourselves up for a lot of injured players. But also, to spin it to a positive, I think Ollie is just playing for his job. I think he's putting himself first and saying, look, maybe I could have played Garner and Jones and Chong tonight, but what if I'd lost? I might have lost my job. So he's playing for his job. That's what he's doing. Mason Greenwood and Dan James, right wing resolved, says Hafez Mohammed. No, I think that's a bit sensationalist, really, to be honest with you. United need to buy a right winger just as much as they need to buy 3 midfielders. The good was Martial and Greenwood, though. Let's talk about those for a moment. The Martial goal, which I'm just watching there, is brilliant. He never looks like he's under control of the ball because he's stretching, but he is. He puts 2 players on their arse and passes it past the goalkeeper. It's a fantastic goal from Martial. And Martial is the difference in the United side. When Rashford was going down the middle and Martial was injured, we looked toothless. Martial and Rashford have got a good link up, and it definitely does take the pressure off Mason Greenwood. I thought I'll do my player ratings in a minute. I thought Mason Greenwood had a little bit of a quiet game with some really good spells, but because you've got Martial and Rashford, they're doing exactly what you need to do. It's like when Ryan Giggs burst on the scene, and I'm not saying Mason Greenwood's the next Ryan Giggs, but when Ryan Giggs burst on the scene, he had some really good players around him to sort of nurture him, and the pressure wasn't really much on him. And Mason Greenwood had that performance tonight. There were some really good little bits there, but was it a consistently brilliant 90-minute performance? No, because he's a young lad. But the pressure's not on him because we're looking at the link-up between Martial and Rashford. Rashford's getting loads of chances. Martial's doing the hard work so that Greenwood can come in and out of the game. That's how it works. That's what it's meant to work. So I thought Greenwood was a massive positive. Martial was the difference. Mark, calm down. You beat a pug team. You are like some of the Arsenal fans getting carried away. Says Zayn Meassi. Yeah, you're not listening, Zayn, are you? You're just showing off with your super chats. I've not even said that. So the good for me was Martial and Greenwood and the win. The ugly was the risk we've taken by playing all of the first teamers, which I think is a big risk, and this is why we're getting so many injuries. And the bad for me was the fact that in the second half we didn't go and win 6 or 7-0. I think 3-0 was the minimum I expected with the team we put out against the team we were playing at Old Trafford at home. 3-0. If you put a team like that out, you've got to beat them at least 3-0. So we did at least 3-0. But I think in the second half, we should have gone and got more. We should have created more. I thought the second half was a bit like United have been over the last few weeks. The first half was good. We've got to resolve that second half issue. But look, in summary, it was nice to watch a game like that. It was nice to watch a game where I knew we'd won early on, and you just can focus in on the game and just go, oh, that's a nice relaxing game on a dark November night. Do we learn a lot from it? No, we don't. And we didn't learn a lot from beating Chelsea because we then lost to Bournemouth. To take something from this game, you need to see a bit of Rashford and Martial link-up play on Sunday, and we beat Brighton, and then you go, oh, we sort of saw the seeds of that against Partizan. So it's all about Sunday, and I do think there's a big risk. I think there is a big risk. I think the risk is that he's played too many of our good team. I hope nobody's picked up a knock, and I hope we're not struggling with fatigue on Sunday. But I'm hoping that Old Trafford will be rocking. I'm hoping that we'll see a confident United. Against Norwich, we saw a really good, vibrant front three with James and Martial and Rashford. And for 10 minutes against Bournemouth, we saw that. I think the big problem with United is Martial in the second half was quiet because he didn't get the service. And in the first half, he looked deadly. And Rashford was quiet in the second half. And Greenwood was quiet in the second half because we didn't get enough ball to them. In the first half, we did. And I think United's big problem this season has always been the midfield. I thought McTominay and Fred, they do get tired. They look tired, and then their passing becomes tired, and they are being asked to do so much at the moment. And look, God forbid if Scott McTominay has got an injury, and I think he'll be all right for Sunday, but if Scott McTominay had an injury, who's our midfield too? Matic is injured, Pogba is injured. If McTominay was out, you're going to play Fred and who? You can't really play Garner in a game like that, I don't think. So you're going to have to play Pereira or somebody. So that was the risk for me, but hopefully it will pay off. Hopefully it will pay off. Devel says get Lingard out. Young and Mata need to jump on a very long saga holiday together, says Paul Robinson. I mean, look, let's do the player ratings. Because that should work, says Young and Mata are underrated. Look, let me do the player ratings because I think this will resolve a lot of the opinions on players. Ewan says please do them. Romero, I would give a 6. That's a very bad 6. Let's rub it around a little bit. 6 for Romero. He had nothing to do. I mean, that if you want to take something from this game, please do. And welcome to the channel, Ben Mitchell. Are you Phil's son? Latest member of the United Stand Members Club. But with regards to Partizan, this was the same as the game in Belgrade. They look okay on their approach to goal, but their final ball's atrocious. And they've not scored against us in 2 games, despite at times looking really dangerous. They're just such a bad side. So Romero can't get anything better than 6 because he had nothing to do. I'd give Wan-Bissaka a 6. I think he looks tired. I think it was a shame he had to play 90 minutes tonight, so I'd give him a 6. I'm going to be generous with Rojo and Maguire. I don't think they put a foot wrong. I think in Maguire's case, he looks a little bit like he's lacking in confidence. I don't know whether he's carrying an injury, but he looks a bit shaky at the moment. So I would give him a 6. And Rojo didn't do anything wrong, so I'd give him a 6. But, I mean, it's 2 international centre-backs against a bit of dodgy striker. So you would expect them to do okay. Ashley Young, I'm not going to just pick on Ashley Young, because I think if you're going to give Maguire a 5, then Young gets a 5. But if Maguire gets a 6, Young gets a 6. I think a player like Ashley Young should be doing far better. He had a lot of space down that left-hand side. He got an assist, but he gave the ball away a lot as well. The assist was good, though, so I'll give him a 6. Fred, it's hard with the midfield too, because we've won 3-0. So I'm going to give Fred and McTominay a 7. I said at half-time, if you think Fred played bad, then McTominay played bad. If you think Fred played good, then McTominay played good. If you think they were average, they were average. I think they had very similar performances. They both intercepted. They both ran around a lot. They both gave the ball away a lot. They both passed forward a lot, which I think helps. I think United created a lot of chances in that game because they passed the ball forward. And a lot of times this season, we don't pass the ball forward. So I'll give him a 7. Maybe I'm being generous. 6.5, says Hans, and I think he's probably right. Mata, 7. I'm going to be. We won 3-0, and Mata, to be honest with you, I think Mata's found his level. Pub level football, isn't it? Juan Mata's done at the highest level. Juan Mata's done in the Premier League. He's not physical. He's not quick enough, but he was up against a team today that were poor defensively, and they gave him a bit of space. And Juan Mata's still the sort of quality player that if you give him loads of space, he's going to find a pass. And at times, Mata, he put one on a plate for Rashford in the first half that Rashford should have scored. So, Mata did okay. Then on to the front 3. Well, look, I'm going to give Greenwood an 8 because he's a young lad. There were some really good bits. He was allowed to just get on with his game because Martial and Rashford took a lot of the pressure off. He scored that first goal, which I don't think... If he hadn't scored that, it could have been 0-0 at half-time. It sort of settled the nerves. He took it well. You look at Rashford had 3 chances before Greenwood scored, and Rashford had just smashed at them. No clinical element, no thinking. He just smashed at them. And he should have scored all 3 of those first 3 chances. Greenwood gets a chance. He doesn't smash at it. He takes his time. He did the goalkeeper with the eyes. He did the defender with the eyes. And he put it away. And he did that against Astana as well. So he's got us 2 really important goals in what haven't been amazing performances. So I'd give him an 8 for that. Rashford, I'm going to give him an 8. And I know people are going to be surprised by that. But Rashford should have had a hat-trick. But I thought his goal was good. And I think every time he got the ball, he looked dangerous. So I'm not going to hate on Rashford because he missed a hat-trick. I think the thing with Rashford is he's dangerous. He's dangerous to us as United, but he's very dangerous to the opposition as well. He's a dangerous player. When he gets on the ball, off that left-hand side, running at goal, he's dangerous. When he's playing as the number 9, when Martial's injured with his backs to goal, he's a liability. But when he plays when he's running at goal, he's quick, he can play a 1-2 and move. He's dangerous. And you know what? He did miss 3 chances, but he got into those positions to get those chances. The thing with Rashford is he's never going to be a clinical finisher. I still think he's got 20 goals a season in him because I think he gets into good positions, but he's never going to be, he's not clinical. He's not an Andy Cole. He's not an Aubameyang. He's not an Alan Shearer. He's not a Harry Kane. He's not a clinical striker. But he will score goals, and his goal was good. So I'm going to give Rashford an 8 because I thought he actually did play quite well. He just should have scored more goals. Composure is the word, Brian Quigley. You're right. And then Martial, I'm going to give Martial an 8. I think you're dreaming if you're going to give him a 9 because it wasn't bordering on a perfect performance. But his goal was brilliant. And for me, the second half, Martial got none of the ball. But I liked Martial at the end when he was talking to Pereira. Pereira and Lingard came on and played badly. And he was talking to Pereira saying, I want the ball here, I want the ball here. That's leadership. And I think one of the big impressions for me, and please do smash a like on the video if Martial was your man of the match, because I thought the goal was world class. As I tweeted, if Messi scored that, the world would be absolutely salivating. You know, it was a brilliant, brilliant goal. But Martial's movement on and off the ball is amazing this season. His work rate is brilliant. And he's talking to a player like Pereira after the game, telling him what he did wrong and why he should have given him the ball here and there. The development and evolution of Anthony Martial in such a short period of time, and I do applaud Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for this, has been sensational. Martial was a left winger for me, and I thought, will he ever be a centre forward? I don't know. I really like him as a left winger, but what he's become as a striker this year is sensational, and that's got to be down to Ollie, because Ollie and Martial clearly are working together, and Ollie knows about being a striker, and where Rashford doesn't seem to be able to take it on board, Martial has taken it on in bucket loads. His hold-up play is fantastic, his running into the channel is great, his selflessness is brilliant, and then if you give him an opportunity, he's getting in there as well. So I thought Martial was fantastic tonight. He had a quiet second half, I agree, he did have a quiet second half, but he was starved of service, which is why he was moaning at Pereira. So I think what we're seeing with Martial is great, and Rezan says Martial was a playmaker as well. Exactly. I mean, there was a couple of times in that game where he played Rashford in. There was a brilliant ball into Mata who laid it back to Rashford. You know, Mata would have got the assist, but the balls from Martial to Mata took 5 Partizan players out. This is the evolution of Martial, and it's very interesting. He needs to find consistency. Of course he does. There's times where he drifts out of games, but when he's doing good, it's really good, and Martial is the difference, and Martial is the hope for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I think he's hinted at it himself. Martial makes us a better team. Martial, you know, makes us create more. Martial makes Rashford better. Martial makes Dan James better. United's big problem going into Brighton or looking back into games like West Ham and Bournemouth isn't the front three. It's the midfield three. The number 10 position's a massive problem. You can't play Mata against the Premier League club. He's going to get swallowed up. Lingard and Pereira are really poor. That number 10 position is so huge. It knits the midfield with the attack, and we haven't got one. And then the midfield worry me because the jury's still out on Fred and McTominay, but even if it's not, they're being played every game, and they're starting to look tired. So it's not. I think the front three are exciting. I think defensively, you know, I know there are concerns about Maguire and Lindelof, but we're not conceding goals. It's the midfield. If we create lots of chances like we did today, we'll win. Because I think the defence will keep clean sheets. It's creating the chances that United are struggling with. And we did tonight because we played a bad side and it was exciting to watch. But can we create that many chances against Brighton at the weekend? That's the challenge. Run the gauntlet. But that's where United need to improve. I think Martial, Rashford and Dan James are a threat to most Premier League sides. The midfield is not much of a threat to a Championship side. That midfield isn't good enough. And it's that midfield that will allow the attackers to express themselves. And if they don't, then that's when we struggle. We need Williams and Lard on Sunday. Bissaka needs a rest, says Chops Out. I don't know what you're talking about. As if we're going to play Ethan Lard against Brighton. Wan-Bissaka will play again. On my way home from the game, we won, but still not convincing, says Crimson Tiger. Thanks for that input, mate. Should have Lingard out, says New and Ban. I mean, Lingard's just not taking the opportunities, is he? I mean, I've had my say on Lingard. I've sort of had enough of Lingard, if I'm absolutely honest with you. But, you know, again, tonight was another opportunity for him to come on and express himself against a very poor side. He doesn't do it. I think his very first touch, he's got plenty of time to put a cross in and he puts it out for a throw-in. Lingard's his own problem to solve. the fans, I think, have pretty much realised what Lingard's all about now, and he's got to try and change it. But I don't think he's the long-term answer for what we need. We desperately need a number 10. We desperately need Pogba back. I'd like Pogba to come into the team and play in the position that Pereira and Lingard and Mata are trying to fill at the moment. Whether that would happen or not, I don't know. But in the grand scheme of things, it's one of those, isn't it? We've won. We can now start looking forward to February, because we'll be in the knockout stages of the Europa League. And hopefully in between then and now, United can start getting some points on the board in the Premier League, and we can start to improve as a team. Because I think the Europa League, as silly as it sounds, United could go deep into the Europa League and win it. And then you're in the Champions League. And I know that sounds stupid now, and I'm not saying it because we've won tonight. I'm just saying that Chelsea and Arsenal got to the Europa League final last year, and neither of those teams were that good in the Premier League. So, we live in a time where the Premier League is arguably the strongest in Europe, and we contested both finals last year in Europe. So I think that United are looking interesting, and it's interesting because Paul Scholes has just said that his starting 11 for United, he'd have Rashford playing at number 10 with Greenwood on the right and James on the left with McTominay and Pogba, and Twan-Sebi next to Maguire. I mean, that's interesting that Scholes is saying that. He played McTominay and Pogba in a 2 with Rashford. I mean, that's something I wanted to say as well. One of the things that I think is as bad as well, and this is a tactical thing, and a lot of you might not have thought of it, some of you will. Why are we playing 2 holding midfielders against Partizan Belgrade at home? I mean, this is the sad thing. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer won every game for 3 months when he first came here with 1 holding midfielder and 2 box-to-box players in a 4-3-3. All this season, we're playing 4-3-3 with 2 holding midfielders. Like, why are we playing Fred and McTominay as holding midfielders? Like, we don't need to do that. And I think that was a bit of a mistake today as well from a tactical point of view. Red Devils 39 says, why don't we switch the squad for these matches? Camilio 10, Anthony Martial has always been a striker, 17 goals in 2015. Yeah, you've not been watching United for long, have you? Chops How, we've read that. It's a major risk playing your same starters this often, says Red Devils 39. Hopefully McTominay injury wasn't too bad. Why don't we mix the squad up for these matches? Charles Crane, what's happened to Chong and Gomez? Gomez is injured. Chong didn't even get selected, Charles. And we turned up for 25 minutes today. Poor show, says LB. Interesting way of looking at it. I think even if United had turned up in the second half when we'd won it 6-0, you've got to do that in the bigger games. I mean, I think that's going to be the message today, isn't it? It's a good result. Martial's goal was good. Greenwood's goal was good. We kept a clean sheet. We've secured Europa League qualification into the knockout stage. But the underlying issue is we've got to go and do that in a big game. And Brighton are above us. So, you know what? If we beat Brighton at the weekend and people say it's only Brighton, I would say, well, it was only West Ham, Newcastle, Bournemouth and Crystal Palace that we lost to. That is progress. We go and beat Brighton on Sunday. That is progress. Is tonight progress? Of course it is. We won. It's tiny, though. And it's all dependent on what happens on Sunday. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer made a major risk tonight. He picked a very strong team to get a win, which he did. I think it was too strong. And now it's going to be about whether that team is good enough to go and beat Brighton on Sunday, or whether we're going to see a situation where we are tired like we were against Bournemouth and we drop points. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's rating as a manager tonight is difficult. It's difficult because I'm tempted to give him a 7, which is slightly better than an average 6. But it almost needs to be judged on Sunday. If we beat Brighton on Sunday, I would say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer gets a 7 for tonight. If we lose to Brighton on Sunday, I'd give him a 5 for tonight because he's taken too many risks. Owen Hargreaves' starting 11 is McTominay, Pogba. He's playing the 3-5-2. He's an idiot, Owen Hargreaves. Anyway, I don't know why he gets to talk about Manchester United anyway. The way he spoke about it, apparently we made him injured, didn't we? But 3-5-2 is not the way for Manchester United. We've not played well with the 3-5-2, so I don't know why people keep talking about it. 3-5-2 against Liverpool was okay for 20 minutes. Against Partizan Belgrade, it was awful. Against Chelsea, it was awful. The 2 good wins we've had recently have been tonight and Norwich, and we played 4-3-3. That's better than 3-5-2. Martial was my man of the match. Smash a like on the video if you agree. It's quick turnarounds. We've got fan cams coming in. Fans at the ground, in the rain. Always interesting to see what the fans have got to say. Always interesting to see what Rance has got to say when he's in a match. He's calling Ollie the Wally at the moment. What will he have to say? I don't think he's going to be positive. Keep your eye out for that. Preview for Brighton tomorrow, 8 o'clock show tomorrow night as well. Subscribe if you're new, bottom right hand corner. I'll speak to you soon. The fan cams are coming in very, very soon.